Yes. So, as Miriam has already said, yes, yes. This paper is based on the study I did for the second volume of our latest volume in Rewriting Equestrian History series, Satan Sinners on Horseback, part one of which is available over there. Yes. And to begin, I would like to give a little bit of historical context. Perhaps you have noticed from Eva's paper that prehistoric period ends on her graph in 1250, because there are no written sources. A bit late, isn't it? So, well, that's why. Baltic and Estonian inhabitants were at the beginning of the 13th century, among the last pagans in Europe. Because although already in the 10th century, first missionaries arrived in these parts, and these were Orthodox Christian missionaries from what is now Russia and Belarus, and first Catholic missionaries arrived in late 12th. They enjoyed only limited success prior to initiation of what's known Northern Crusades, when waves of invaders from Western Europe, mainly led by the Teutonic Knights, established their states in these territories. However, one thing which needs to be kept in mind is that these German authorities were chronically undermanned. Therefore, the process of Christianization of the natives was quite patchy and inconsistent. Therefore, archaeologically, there is evidence of pagan rituals, although not of the organized pagan religious practice, as late as 18th century, as there are several sites where coins were habitually sacrificed, and since coins are easily datable, the last ones here in Latvia date to the reign of Emperor Paul I of Russia, which is the end of 18th, beginning of the 19th century. So, and horses made their appearance in the local culture in the earliest archaeological finds. These things, this one is obviously a horse. This one is sometimes referred to as water bird in the archaeological studies, although given that it has ears, it's hard to imagine what kind of it represents. And more importantly, these things are the third most common type of jewelry found. First one being a Christian cross, which is, I believe, a testimony to the importance of the horse to the native culture. Also, there are multiple horse burials discovered. The most complete one, place called Ogres Gals, contains a small horse, only 140 centimeters in width, buried together with a noble Leaf warrior. Leaves being a tribe of which speaks Finno-Ugric language, really. more related to modern Estonians than to modern Latvians. And the earliest written records that we have also have certain brief mentions of horses. The most famous one is about the so-called horse of destiny, found in the Chronicle of Henry of Livonia, and refers to the activities of a late 12th century missionary, Saint Minard, who, after his initial success in baptizing the native population, was accused by them in malicious sorcery because a great storm destroyed this year's crop. And they wanted to put him to death. And they put them on trial using a horse. The chronicler himself just mentions that the ritual involves leading a horse over a spear and watching which foot it lifts first. And says that it was the foot which meant life. This is a heavily romanticized painting by a Latvian 19th century painter who took additional details from Saxo Grammaticus Gesta Danorum, such as horse not being ridden, has no saddle, no bridle, and that the leg, which means life, is the right one, which is not found in our own chronicle. However, and here we go already to later folklore, the belief that the first step the horse takes during a journey is important is recorded as late as late 19th century. And it was indeed the right leg. So, chroniclers and travelers of the early modern period, 16th to 17th century, mention that, referring to what I started my talk with, the patchy Christianization of the area, that people, although they do go into the churches, they conduct their rituals of their own invention, such as the one described by the chronicle Balthazar Rusov, who said that Livonians, although Rusov was writing from Tallinn, so it is not clear which particular Livonians he meant, ancestors of modern Latvians or of modern Estonians, or both, that they bring to the churches on certain days wax figures of animals, horses among them, to be blessed to ensure their health and multiplicity in the coming year. Other sources, such as the records of church visitation protocols, tell about outright pagan rituals. For example, one that you see here talks about a man who, being worried about the health of his horses, sought the help of an elder who told him that he needs to make sacrifices to an idol. And the church inspectors even use what can be recognized as a Latvian word, although it doesn't say which god it is. Elks in Latvian is idol. So it's just to an idol. So we do not know which god it was on this particular occasion, but in other documents, this god is mentioned. A god of horses is mentioned by name, and it is also of course, the chroniclers, the church inspectors, they are all foreign, so they transliterated the local words as best as they could, and thus what was in a Latin text. Yes. We'll see that cute animal later on. What was called in the Latin text usalig, in actual Latvian, because is usiņš, which is also as late as late 19th century, is mentioned as patron of horses, and which, for example, in folk songs. This is my translation. And what's interesting, all patrons of all other animals are Christian saints. And Catherine, Anthony, but then there is him. So, of usiņš, it is also known. The early modern sources do not talk specifically of what this god does, except that it is god of horses. The later folklore also, on the other hand, says that it is the god which is the patron of horses, but also of bees. And this double patronage gave rise to this interesting spring ritual. Yes, during the Lent, before sunrise, wrap yourself in a clean white sheet and nothing else beside, and then go sit on a beehive and wait and watch the sunrise. Do this 3 mornings in a row, and throughout the next year, all foals will be, which you will have, will be strong and healthy. I don't know how many people tried this, although it's late enough Easter. You can still have during the Lent several days when it is warm enough to sit in a single sheet, but bees are still asleep. Also, it worked the other way around. If you want to take petty revenge on your neighbor and curse his bees, put a halter on his horse, turned inside out. So horses and bees share a certain connection in local folklore. Yes. Yes. And this is a mole. And a fine example of sympathetic magic, that certain qualities may be transferred from one creature to another. In this case, when a foal is born, if you want to have your foal as plump, as shiny as a mole, because you all seen the mole's coat. It's nice black sheen to it. Catch a living mole and rub a foal with the mole. Then it will plump as a mole. Also, we all know that horses are not exactly heavy sleepers. It's easy to wake up. Therefore, if you drink the water which the horse drank, you will not be able to sleep. It's interesting that although this particular belief is common to whole of Latvia, in different parts of the country, it has different accents on it. In the East, it's usually formulated in the negative. If you happen to drink this water, it will cause insomnia. Whereas in the West, it is formulated in the positive. If it so happens that you must not sleep, drink the horse's water. Yes, St. John's Night, summer solstice, a very important festival in our culture. And I believe it is so in Estonia. Yes. But this night is particularly dangerous to horses. There are many beliefs, many songs which speak about not keeping the horses outside on that night. One of them is here on the screen. That the horses may be attacked by the howls of Mother of Woods. Mother of Woods, is a nameless spirit which is in charge of the forests. It has been speculated for as long as there are studies into Latvian folklore that there has been at some point a cult of such spirits called mothers, because Mother of Woods is not the only one. There is Mother of Winds, there is Mother of Mist, some spirits which control natural forces. There are other beliefs which say that if you keep horses outside on St. John's night, it will be what's in English known as Hagrid. When you find your horse, was supposed to be doing nothing, all in foam, tired, panting. Yes. And there were also means how to protect your horse from hags or witches. The word which is used in the original Latin is typically translated to witch, although there are in current research speculations that it might that the word witch might have applied got stuck onto it through German culture, and originally it meant something else, but okay, I digress. This is a tangent. So, and as for St. John's night, I have a theory, but the suggestion of my own, why is it like so? Which came from observing our own horses around this time of year. So if the summer is hot enough by the summer solstice, during the day there are already horseflies, but during the night there's still mosquitoes. And horses might get easily annoyed and start running around, but we have a paddock, they're not going anywhere. Whereas in an open pasture in more traditional times, this way you could easily lose your horses through unknown, unseen reasons, hence the belief in Mother of Woods, or the witches, or the ghosts, which was another option. And there is a Christian Latvian folklore called Livonia, which is a ghost of a person who died before his appointed time, a suicide or a small child. And one thing this ghost does is it torments animals. So. Stop the thief. Horses as valuable property was always in danger of being stolen. And apart from natural means of protecting your horses is in locking your barn and seeking the help of local authorities, there were supernatural means to get your horse back. You can, and two suggested methods were, these two examples show either to supernaturally tie your horse to your own property or confuse the thief after the deed's been done. So one way of tying a horse to your barn, to your farm, was feed it with the straw from your roof. Another was when the foal loses its baby teeth, it buried them somewhere in the barn, suggesting an earthen floor. Or alternatively, the horse is already stolen. A thief could be confused, made to lose his way, for example, by hanging a bridle of something which has a wheel, a spinning wheel, a water mill, something just wheel operated, and start spinning it in the opposite direction to where it's normally rotates. and this is supposed to confuse the thief. Although in one version, if one recorded version of this particular superstition, it was described as a means of magical fraud. You sell the horse, then you do this, then you sell horse another time. Yes. So, and although some of these beliefs they remain in ethnographic record already, some horse related, although they might not be already in the realm of practical magic, as a belief that they would do something, then nevertheless, some of them are becoming fashionable. This is a traditional element of vernacular architecture. These two things are attached to the final rafters of the roof, and traditionally they are cut in the shape of two horses' heads. This one comes from a real estate catalog. So it's a new house with a thatched roof, like traditional style, log cabin, and of course it must have this. And I've seen several houses, which our neighbors near our farm have, which do have them as well. So this particular element lives on. Thank you. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Eva and Edgar, for giving us such great insights from very different perspectives into Baltic culture, horse culture. And I see that
there is a question for Eva.
The height of the tail root. No, I have not done that.
Eva, perhaps you could come here because the microphone is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see that one question is that are you also recording the height of the tail root? Because the difference in height between croup and tail root is interesting for confirmation. No, I haven't recorded that, but I will write that down. It's a good comment. Are you also recording the shape of the cannon bone? A study by Kansas State found that horses with a round cannon bone have greater load-bearing capacity than horses with a flat cannon bone, and shape of the cannon bone was a determining factor. Well, I have taken different measurements of the cannon bone, the girth of the cannon bone and the width and also the depth of the cannon bone. So I have this data available. So again, I will bear it in mind. I will write it down, and maybe it's something I could follow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay, thank you.
the-
This is Jörg, and I posted the question. So yeah, thank you for looking at that.
yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Super. Have we got any more questions either from our online audience or from anyone in the hall? Yes, hands going up. Yes.
I have a very good question.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Thank you both so much. The photo that you showed at the end of this fabulous piece of architecture. So is that something to sort of indicate that that's where you get the hay, the straw from your roof that the horse is supposed to eat, and that's what's supposed to be tracked back, and will people recognize?
It's not stated anywhere explicitly that it has to be hay from this particular place in the roof, but in the same vein as moles and coat colors, water and watchfulness, horses on your roof, horses in your barn. I think there should be a connection.
And it was very reminiscent of the ornament at the start, where you took the double horse head. Yes.
Well, the traditional ornament, which is carved or painted on the walls, which is like this, it is the same simplified element. It's called humus, the roof, and it has been suggested that it might be a symbol of protection or something. they now it's very fashionable to ascribe to those traditional symbols deep meaning, but that meaning was an educated guess by 1920s ethnographers. So, Martha, you have a question?
Whatever, so that we told that we observe that the wither height is reducing and the weight of the horse is growing. I think that we can correlate this with a little bit not correctly understood the well-being of the horses, because we observe the tendency that the father horse is the happier horse. It's not thinking about the natural bodybuilding of the horse. Every horse must be fat, because otherwise it means that you are not taking care of the horse in a proper way. And it's very difficult to explain to people that there are still the races that is absolutely natural, that the ribbons are visible and you can change nothing about it. So thin people, fat people, it's fine, but horses must be fat. All of them the same. And obese horses have horses.
Yes.
Educate people that there are still markers which are absolutely natural, and some bones must be visible, and it doesn't mean that you don't feel it. It doesn't mean that you.
Yeah, and I think this puts people in fear actually, because they are concerned that somebody's going to think they're a welfare person. Exactly, yes. But it's just the natural.
I don't know if, of course, people in Estonia have the same problem, because here it is like we recently had a livery horse, and the owner was completely complaining all the time that, oh, you're not feeding the horse, it is so underfed, you know this. Yes. Its ribs are visible, its bones are visible.
We have two ponies which live on the same little trees, and they came from a very good garden, typical ponies. And they're the same age, and they also have this 3 or 4 rings, but they are ponies. They drive. Just the age markers, they're growing. And luckily, people are actually crazy about overfeeding their horses. I used to have a little daughter, which was an X-ray report from England, and she's naturally flies. People were always concerned that she's very sick. Even when she was quite fat for a daughter.
Yes. Briefly, there is a question in the chat whether I have published any papers on Latvian folklore. And yes, as I mentioned in the beginning of my talk, there is a forthcoming volume, Saints and Sinners of on Horseback Part 2, available from Trident Publishing, where my chapter on which this paper is based will be published.
It is published already.
It is published already, yes.
Just waiting for some
Yeah, so
copies, I
this
think.
is volume 1, part
Yeah.
1, but there is part 2, it's just we don't have it in paper here.
Yeah.
Yes.
It can be bought on the ebook and it can be ordered in paper format.
Yes. St. John's Night and Midsummer Night. Summer solstice.
June.
Yes. Well, it's a traditional date for it here is
24th.
23rd to 24th. It's the night.
I just wanted to, oh, sorry.
Yes.
No, I just wanted to comment more about the weight or the overweight of the horses. I think it's also to do, could be that it depends on the horse and of course how you use it and how much you train it, but people are very eager to give loads of like additional feed to horses if they don't even need it, especially the native horses, all kind of fancy mueslis full with sugars and so on.
Yeah.
So that's also because they want to take care of the little pony.
Yeah.
So that's the.
Produces spherical
Yeah.
food.
And especially if they're also half time living in the stables, in the box, then they can't move, then that's the. Because if they would be always outside and finding their own food, then the situation is better, of course.
Yes. Yeah. And they would naturally lose weight in
Yeah.
winter because they didn't get that.
Yeah.
There's no grass, they're not
Yeah.
getting
They
additional
will-
feed,
they
but
will-
now we give them the additional. feed,
They will use all the tonnage to grow fur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question. How many foals are born here now?
I think it's around 300. Yeah.
And And have you tested any of these things? I mean, you have moles, I suppose.
And next time Ginger catches one, because in some the folklore is not consistent on whether the mole should be alive. There are versions like dead mole. So if the cat catches one, we'll try that on character. Although it was already quite shiny.
I was wondering, I think there, at least in Dutch culture, there's a lot of stories, and a lot of us as kids that experience this. You're trying to fill the water drum on the horse, and then you fall in. So, are there any cures for your insomnia? Caused by having like.
I haven't studied this aspect specifically, but there should be folk cures for insomnia somewhere. It's an accident.
Surely it's the drink you were telling me about, that must be the cure for insomnia.
Yes.
You're like,
The bathing, yes. Although many stable owners do swear that braiding a red string into a horse's tail will,
It could also be my
or mane anywhere, it will protect the horse.
Yeah,
There are-
from the back.
Yes,
That
for
was
the-
needed for her horse, but it was start to get injuries. The vet, she was a girl student, studying for veterinary sciences, and she would swear she would not let the person who does this homeopathy to come to her horse because it's nothing, but she braided the red thing. So homeopathy doesn't work, but the red does.
if we saw a horse with a red ribbon in its tail in the UK, we would just think that horse is kicking you.
No, but the red should be worried because it's sea.
See, it's a small piece of thread woven somewhere in the mane where it's invisible. It's an amulet, yes.
Right.
Why does it have to be a mole?
Well, because the mole has a coat which is shiny, and the mole is round and fat. And
It's Tony Ponies from all of you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah, maybe that's what's happening.
you probably have something like this in the local folklore as well, something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was also advised that for a horse which is getting sick or injured all the time, you put blessed water into the drinking drum.
Right.
From the church, you take it and you put it.
Well,
I was told by the owner of the stable. Okay, your horse is getting injured all the time. There must be something about it. Go to the church. get some
Actually,
water.
this one has roots in early modern primary sources. That yes, when there were Jesuits coming here after parts were conquered by the King of Poland, and they tried to return the population to the Catholic fold. There were Jesuits who were studying local customs, and they said, "Oh, the people here are so happy to see us. They come to have some blessed water from us." And then they started asking questions, why do you need so much?
What's it doing with this?
Yes, giving it to horses, pouring it by barrel into lakes to exorcise evil spirits. And my favorite, giving it to a wise woman. So she would use it to make herbal stew, and then apply it to fishing nets. And these fishing nets will not be broken by large fish or stolen. And there's like, what?
That's what uses for holy water. Isn't it?
Many uses for holy water.
Yeah, yeah.
Although it is in the part concerning horses, it is not completely clear whether the use of the holy water on horses was relatively canonical, like sprinkle on them, or it was really something like making a potion.
Right.
It just said used holy water to cure his horses.
I just wanted to show you because I lost my last photo of my slide and I really wanted to show you, so I just show it in another file. Can I take, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. because just wanted to show you, because I was talking about bias a lot and the different people measuring differently and so on. So I just wanted to show a illustrated picture of one time when I was measuring. Oh, I don't know how to deal with it. How can I get to the folder? Where am I? Okay, here.
it should be. There it is.
Very slow.
No, and.
Okay, I thought it would be a quick thing.
No, but it's because it was working. It's. Come on. Yes, now it was.
Yeah.
Backup.
All back up.
No, now.
Back up, I know.
Sorry, I just wanted to show quickly a picture. Yeah, USB drive. Yes.
Come on.
Okay, so maybe it's impossible. Mission impossible.
Yes.
Just expensive.
Yeah.
It's Zoom, which is slowing it down.
Yeah, maybe. So I want it probably here in my PowerPoint. And I should also share the screen.
Yeah, it would be better because otherwise the
People also
group and
reflect.
everybody could see.
Maybe, yeah, maybe it's also
no, it will-
recording right now. That's
No,
why.
it's not recorded.
Ah, okay, okay.
Oh, it
Ah,
is
it's
recorded.
paused.
It-
Stop it because it doesn't need discussion.
Uh-huh,
It's okay not to have the discussion.
yeah.
Okay.
Then-
I need to stop sharing then
Yeah.
to stop recording, yes?
Yeah,
You
stop
can
share
stop
for
it.
now.
You can stop sharing.
Uh-huh.
So.
Yes.
Uh-huh.